Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Sentinels of Andersonville by Tracy Groot. The Sentinels of Andersonville by Tracy Groot is set in Georgia during the Civil War and follows a group of characters who learn of the atrocities happening at Andersonville Prison, where Union soldiers are kept. Together they fight to save the prisoners, despite the fact that they are enemies, and risk being condemned as traitors. So I'm going to be very honest with you guys about this book, because I don't want to just sit and beat around the bush and whatnot. First of all, a couple things. First of all, when I first got this book, I found it at like Walmart for like $5. So I'm a sucker for very cheap books, and if a book sounds vaguely interesting and it's cheap, there's a good chance I'm just going to pick it up without really entirely paying attention to what the plot is. So yeah, I got this book for pretty cheap, which is great. And for another thing, it's focused on like the Civil War, and as much as I love history, you guys, if you've been on this channel for a while, you know that I love nothing more than historical fiction. As much as I love historical fiction and history, the Civil War is like at the very bottom of my list of interests. I've said this before, I love all things European history and anything dealing with like monarchies, stuff like that. So yeah, the Civil War is just not my cup of tea, to be honest. And then lastly, another thing, this book is Christian fiction, and I don't consider myself to be religious at all, and yeah, Christian fiction is just not really my cup of tea either, unfortunately. That being said, I'm not going to sit here and bash this book because there's elements that don't really entirely appeal to me personally. If you're someone who enjoys Christian fiction, like set during the Civil War, you know, to be specific, this is probably going to gel with you way better than it did with me, and you're probably going to find way more to appreciate. As for the writing was fine. I liked it. Tracy Groot's writing is very easy to follow, easy to get into. Is it the world's greatest literature? No, but it's still fine for what it is. I like the story that she was telling. So the basic crux of this book is that it's really all about enemies. Again, taking place during the Civil War. You have the North, you got the South, you have kind of all these opposing sides, all these opposing characters who should hate each other. And weirdly enough, I did learn something new while reading this book. You know, even though I lived in Georgia for some time, but I lived in Georgia when I was very young, and I don't ever remember coming across Andersonville Prison, because I do think the remains of Andersonville Prison are still like around somewhere in Georgia, like kind of like a tourist, if you want to think about it that way, a tourist attraction of sorts. I have never learned about Andersonville Prison. Apparently it was built there in Georgia during the Civil War, and it housed Union soldiers, you know, prisoners of war, essentially. So yeah, what you have with this book is that in the nearby town, there's a group of characters who learn of the atrocities that are happening at Andersonville Prison. These people, the Union soldiers, are being treated like shit, pretty much. The conditions, like the way the conditions in this book are described, Andersonville Prison is like on the scale of like the atrocities and conditions of like what you would see like practically like a century later in like Russian and Nazi prison camps, for instance. It's pretty bad. The prisoners, the Union soldiers, are being treated just despicably. They're starving. They don't even have like good shelters or even housing, you know. Yeah, they're not being fed. Their clothes are just falling apart. They're being ate up by like parasites and maggots and all that bad stuff. Yeah, prisoners are just dying off every single day in like the hundreds, practically, how it's kind of described in this book. So yeah, the atrocities are pretty horrible, and Tracy Groot doesn't shy away from that at all. So yeah, in the nearby town, this group of locals, they learn of the atrocities happening here at Andersonville Prison, and them thinking of themselves as good, kind Christian people, that even though they are from the South, they still feel like it's their Christian duty and their Christian obligation to help these Union soldiers, because even though they're prisoners, they're enemies, they're on opposing sides, everybody still deserves kindness and generosity and food and shelter. So yeah, these locals, they make it their mission that they want to help out the prisoners at this prison, and try to get conditions at least a little bit better so that they're not suffering so terribly. And like I said, prior to reading this book, I had never learned about Andersonville Prison. It was kind of shocking and mind-blowing, some of the sections in this book, some of the atrocities. And I think Tracy Groot did her research, and she really made this prison come to life. And like I said, she didn't hold back on some of the really gruesome things that are happening, just some of the gruesome manners of death that these characters are experiencing. So at the heart and core of this book, I think as far as like thematics go, this is a book about people who think that it's a human right to help others in need who are suffering. And once again, it's the Civil War. You have the characters who feel it's their Christian duty to help others in need, but then you also have the characters who, I had a loved one who died. They were killed by a Union soldier. Why should I help these people who killed my son, killed my father, killed my brother, So it's a very complex issue, and I think that complexity is gone into in interesting ways in this book. As far as the characters in this book go, they were fine. I wasn't really expecting like any mind-blowing, amazing characters. The characters were fine. I think more than anything, they're kind of characters and stereotypes, almost. The characters in here are kind of there to serve a function and to serve like a thematic purpose, if that makes sense. I do think my two favorite characters were the duo. There was like a character who was like a Union soldier and a character who was a Confederate soldier, and I absolutely loved their bromance. They had such a wonderful dynamic with one another. Once again, a Confederate soldier, a Union soldier, they're on opposing sides, but these two guys, just in this hostility, kind of managed to come together and open up to one another and be like, hey, let me learn about you, you can learn about me, let's put aside our differences and focus on what makes us the same, and what we can do to make the world better. So overall, this book was fine. Let me repeat, I'm not into Civil War history, I'm not into Christian fiction. You may find way more to appreciate about this book than I did. I thought it was fine. I'm still glad I read it, because I feel like I still learned something new in regards to like Civil War history, So I recommend this for those of you who are more interested in like Christian fiction. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on the Sentinels of Andersonville. In the comments below, have you guys read this book? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.